Alright everybody, it's time for another episode of Let's Argue, where I take on all your hot takes, unpopular opinions, and difficult questions about anime. Yeah, there's already other people doing this, but you know what? I'm better. Boruto isn't a bad anime. People wanted it to one like Naruto. When the kids need to develop their stories, the kids don't even know what war is yet, and people want them to have all-out wars like Naruto did. I never got far enough in Naruto to see any all-out wars. I watched the first 13 episodes of Boruto, and I mean, it's okay. As far as like slice of life school, ninja school anime goes, it's fine. It's way more lighthearted, way more like kid-friendly, and it just feels like more of a kid's show than Naruto did, at least in the beginning. I understand the characters will grow up and experience, maybe darker, more emotional moments, but like, Naruto is really hardcore right from the start. Naruto is much more violent and fucking intense from a pretty early point. So I think that definitely Boruto feels like it's more aimed at children than Naruto was. It almost feels like it's made for the children of people who grew up with Naruto. Which I don't know if that's worked. I guess it has. Boruto's been around for a while. It seems successful enough. Go Nagai's work, as in the actual manga, are severely overhyped and survive much more on concept and anime adaptability, to which someone responded, agreed, Devilman sucks by current standards and would be a joke of a manga if it was released today. I don't know about all that. Devilman is fucking awesome. I love the Devilman manga. And yeah, a lot of it is like very cliche shonen shit, like battles, but like the artwork at times is unbelievably gorgeous. The apocalyptic ending is one of the most memorable and badass things I've ever seen. And to me, it just kind of represents like the penultimate, why do I keep saying penultimate? The ultimate fucking end of the world anime, manga. Like, it is the if you want to like think of like all of humanity sucks and the world is going to end, no story does a better job of like conveying that narrative than Devilman, and the iconography of it is so incredible. And yeah, I think it's pretty fucking cool. Do I think Go Nagai stuff is overrated? I don't know if it's that highly rated in the first place. I mean, I think it's more nostalgia driven. Like, it's one of those things where they're just gonna keep making more stories in those universes because it's an IP that is successful, So it's just like bringing back Star Trek over and over again. It's like it's an IP that people are gonna keep coming back to, and he has a lot of them. So yeah, I don't know if it's even necessarily that they are so highly rated as they are just successful. Slice of life isn't a genre, or at least it is a very confused term. It highlights how there is no consistent logic connecting ideas that are considered anime genres, and there are too many overly specific genres that don't say anything tangible about the shows in question. I agree. I was going to make a video one time about how the best slice of life anime is Cowboy Bebop, because there's really no argument for it not being slice of life. It literally is just random vignettes of the daily lives of three people who happen to have fairly exciting lives. But like, I don't think that it has much different to say about its characters than a typical slice of life show does. And I even think that it has a lot of the same tone. The way that each episode sort of starts off with the characters just hanging out in their house and often ends the same way, with just a story happening in between. Yeah, it's too broad of a term to really be helpful. I definitely think that what people mean when they talk about slice of life is more often iyashike, or even just, comedy shows that aren't explosively funny. But like, most slice of life shows have some other genre that you could also call them that would make more sense than slice of life. Most fan service is just annoying and makes some shows really hard to recommend. Very rarely is it great though. Yeah, I mean, rarely it is great, and sometimes fan service can be annoying. I don't think this is really an unpopular opinion, but just to answer it a little bit, I think that a lot of shows that have fan service are not necessarily looking to get recommended to everybody. Like, not every show is for everyone. Some shows want to include those elements because they think that it will help them to reach the audience that they are aiming for. And I understand how it can be frustrating for some people if you just want to see, like, say, an action show and you aren't really interested in the fan service and you think the show would be good if not for that element and would be easy to recommend to people. But At the end of the day, I think that this problem comes down more to a difference in sensibilities between the West and the East, where I just think that they, in Japan, just don't really care that much about the fan service. It's not as distracting. It doesn't make them immediately think about it, whereas more Westerners might, because we just have a more, I don't know, sexually repressed culture, and people are more embarrassed about that kind of stuff, or more judgmental about it, and or, you know, just it offends their sensibilities in some way. So what it comes down to is, like, you can have fan service in Japanese media and it can still be broadly accessible, whereas it's harder for it to be broad in America because more people are Puritan about sex. But, you know, I think that's really a problem of culture. Seven Deadly Sins is the worst shonen and practically unwatchable if Ban didn't exist. I don't know who Ban is, but it is pretty bad. I think that what I saw of Seven Deadly Sins, it was confusing to me how it seemed to break all the rules of shonen and just get away with it. And I didn't really understand how nobody noticed. I don't know, just because it has cool over-the-top attacks and, you know, a pretty unique art style, but I'm shocked that it's as big as it is. But I mean, then again, so was Fairy Tail, so whatever. Hunter x Hunter has no bad arcs. I think that the Killua family arc, it's not bad. It's just that it feels like it's building to something and then it just kind of ends and they just kind of go on to the next thing. But aside from that, yeah, I don't think there's any bad arcs. Definitely there's difference in quality between them, but none of them are bad. What Was That Just Now and its variations are one of the most annoying translation quirks, and I feel like just translating it to What Was That is so much better because the viewer is aware of the context in which the phrase is said. Honestly, I wish there was like some kind of like standard for anime translation, because when you watch a lot of anime you realize that a lot of it is the same phrases repeated over and over again, that like the Japanese language is not extremely complex, and the more you catch on to that, the more the different ways that things get translated can become weird to you. And not to say that the same phrase can't mean different things in different contexts, that it would be more appropriate to translate it differently in certain situations, but like even then there are only so many situations where these words are going to come up. So there are tons of times when I'm watching anime with May where I will like just reverse engineer what the character said and be like, that translation was awkward, or that was a little off, and like here's how I would have translated it. Like, here's what I think because a lot of the times you lose some of the meaning or some of the meta element of the language when you keep translating it differently or more verbosely or just like awkwardly. You know, I agree with that particular example, that What Was That Just Now, which is probably, you know, ima nani, you know, like in Japanese, like ima meaning just now, nani meaning what was that. Yeah, it literally means nothing different from what was that in context. Like, there's no reason to say just now. But, like, I think that, you know, if we were going to try to change that translation, we need to have a standard that we're always using so that people understand that, you know, that they're hearing that same phrase, that there is a consistency in the language that they're hearing. It would also make people able to learn Japanese way more easily. Shaman King is the godfather of spirit animes, and everyone uses their attributes till this day. Even Sasuke Susanoo is literally a Shaman King reference. Wasn't JoJo before Shaman King? Aren't they basically stands? The Skycrawlers is Oshii's best movie and is the most Gesamtkunstwerk thing he's ever made. I love the Skycrawlers. I think it's probably my favorite Oshii film as well. So yeah, I agree. Go watch the Skycrawlers if you like slow, contemplative, difficult movies. Shirobako killed the legitimacy of a lot of anime critics / journalists. Just because you watch the show doesn't mean you know everything about the industry. Same goes for Girlish Number and shows of the same ilk. I don't think that there's a ton of people who literally just watched Shirobako and think they know everything about the industry. I think that it's just that when people talk about the industry, they almost always will cite Shirobako, especially if you're making a video essay, because you have footage of the industry happening. Like, it's so easy to, like, I'm talking about some kind of aspect of anime creation. How can I represent this visually in my video? Oh, there's an amazing show that just happens to be about this. Let me just pour that in or use it as my example, because that way people have something to relate these points to. But I don't think there's a ton of people who literally watch Shirobako and think that they are experts on the anime industry now. Alright, that's it for this episode of Let's Argue. You're gonna see this same clip at the end of every episode, because I'm only recording this once before I ship it off to Davu. Follow me on Twitter if you wanna, be a part of the next one. That whenever it goes up, I've recorded like 6 of these in a row, so it'll be a while before I post the next tweet, but that's where you'll be able to react. And also, if you want more Digibro content, there's an endless sea of it in the every video featuring Digibro playlist, because I have a lot of channels that I appear on, and I do all kinds of shit. I'm constantly talking. I never shut my fucking mouth. My voice somehow doesn't go hoarse in spite of hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. Anyway, go watch all that shit.